You're listening to The Main Event with Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn on WHIP.
Welcome back, everybody. WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. Time in the WHIP studios is 11:17. We're getting ready to head down to Orlando as the Temple Owls will play in the American Athletic Conference tournament on Friday with their hopes of getting to the big dance and returning after the snub of last year. Now joining us on the hotline is the bracketologist at CBS, and that's the great Jerry Palm. Jerry, it's Zach and Mike. Thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, we're doing great, and we appreciate you giving us a few minutes. So everyone here at Temple University is paranoid, and they're anxious, waiting to find out if the Temple Owls will make the NCAA tournament. At this time of the year, everyone religiously goes to your website and Joe Lunardi's website. Find out where you guys project the Temple Owls. The Temple Owls right now, they're in good shape. They just won the regular season American Athletic Conference as champions. What do they have to do from here on out to punch their ticket to the big dance, Jerry?
Well, really, the only thing they can do to feel safe on Selection Sunday is win the conference tournament. I don't think there's ever been a league that has been so bubble-heavy as the American. They've got 5 bubble teams in this league. And the unfortunate thing is they go into the conference tournament, and the one team that could actually help someone if they beat them, SMU, is not there. So you've basically got 5 bubble teams all sort of playing each other, one of which is probably going to win the conference tournament and feel good about Selection Sunday, and everybody else is going to be on the bubble. They can't even play themselves off the bubble in the conference tournament without winning it. And that's, Temple, as a regular season champion, I mean, that was nice, and they almost had to do that just to really stay in contention for an at-large bid if they need one, because all of their good wins came in the league. All 7 of their top 100 wins are in the league, and they have a very strange profile in the sense that they've got 7 top 100 wins and only 8 total against the top 200 teams in the RPI, and they're below 500 against that group. And typically, if you're below 500 against that group, you don't get in. So, Temple, if they're not the league champion, they're probably still going to be below 500 against the top 200 teams in the RPI, and there's just no way to feel safely into the tournament with that on your resume.
So just win the conference tournament, and then you automatically lock up the bid, and then people don't have to sweat out on Selection Sunday. I wish it was that easy covering the Temple Owls for the last 4 years. But, Jerry, last year when they didn't get in, a lot of people were annoyed about the Scott Barnes excuse of an eye test, and we even went further than Temple University. We talked to Phil Martelli, we talked to Steve Donahue, and they weren't happy with that excuse. And you bring up the AAC, and it doesn't seem like the AAC gets a lot of respect, especially on a year when SMU can't make the tournament because of their sanctions. Where do you gauge the interest of level of respect nationally for the American Athletic Conference?
Well, it's a pretty good league. It's got, like I said, 5 teams with a chance to play themselves into the NCAA tournament out of, 12? So that's not bad. But it's it's a thing where the best team is not available, and you can't do anything about that. But it's still pretty, half the teams are NCAA tournament quality, so you can't really complain about that.
And this has really been a surprise year for Temple. Most people, I would say, pencil them into the NIT before the year. What have you seen Fran do with this squad just to really make them go above and beyond expectation level before the year?
Well, I think it's a matter of just getting teams to execute, and they've done a really good job, and especially in conference play. That's really where this team gelled and matured, is when they got into the league. It's a team that really did very well against the better teams in the league. That you get out and you and it's really about execution. When you've got teams this evenly matched, the only way you can separate yourself is to be smart and do your stuff better than other teams do, and that's what Temple really did. Just a matter of coming together and doing things that you need to do, and that's what they.
We're talking to CBS Sports bracketology expert and Jerry Palm. And Jerry, a lot of fans who are in the know, or actually who aren't in the know, try and come up with their own equations. They compare RPI, they compare strength of schedule, they compare overall resumes. What is the arithmetic that goes in when you're filling out your potential bracket, as well as how much does the eye test really qualify when it comes to Selection Sunday?
Well, it can. If all you have is the eye test, you don't really have anything. I mean, you you've got to have something else. But, you know, sometimes, I mean, it is a subjective process, you know, and it's, I mean, sometimes when you're looking at these last 3 or 4 teams, it can be something as simple as, you know, what team looks like an NCAA tournament team. And, you know, last year is not the first time that kind of a thing has happened. And there isn't really, you know, when you're trying to get things separated among these teams, you know, where there's really no clear-cut difference, sometimes that's what it is. So it is a subjective process, though. You know, you've got all this data, and the data's nice, and ultimately you need to look like a tournament team at some level on paper. But then, you know, it's 10 people watching the teams play, and you need to look like a tournament team to them, too.
We're still 5 days away from Selection Sunday, and a lot will change in these next 5 days. When we look across the nation, teams on the bubble, which current team has the best chance of maybe making a deep run that's a bubble team of yours in the Big Dance?
A bubble team with a chance to make a deep run. Gosh, I don't know. I don't really think of any of them. I think they're all. You know, how about I give you Vanderbilt? I mean, Vanderbilt's a team that was like a preseason top 25 team. They've got a couple of NBA level guys on that team, and for whatever reason, spent the first 3 months not playing to the level of their talent. And then over the last month, they've gotten hot, and they've put together, you know, a borderline tournament resume. If Vanderbilt gets in, they're probably going to be a double-digit seed, depending on what they do in their conference tournament. And they'll be a pretty dangerous double-digit.
And really, to me, there's no heavy favorite going into this tournament just because of the way the one seed has changed all throughout the year. And even on, you know, this past weekend, you saw the emergence of Labissiere at Kentucky. Duke UNC was a really good game. Michigan State, they always dominate this time of the year. Do you have a favorite? Do you look at a team and say, hey, this is probably the best team in the nation?
Well, I'd say Kansas at the moment, but I don't know that they're a heavy favorite. But there's really only 2 teams that I trust right now, Kansas and Michigan State. I don't really trust anybody else. And, you know, maybe by the end of the week I will. I kind of hope so. But I don't know that we've got a really prohibitive favorite going into this tournament. And I'm not sure that we will at the end of this week either. But Kansas has played the best over the course of the season. Michigan State's starting to look like Michigan State does at this time of year. And then there are other teams that have been, you know, pretty good, but there's question marks. There's reasons where you just don't have complete faith in them, and that's kind of where I stand on all of these teams at this point.
And let's get to one of those teams, and that, of course, is Villanova. They were number 1 at a certain time in the season this year, and everyone looks at Villanova, and the last few years, people have been disappointed with Villanova in the NCAA tournament because they expect them to go further, at least here in Philadelphia, and depending on who you root for in the Big Five. But what makes this Villanova team different to you this year?
Well, I think what makes them different this year, first of all, is experience. You know, it's an older, more veteran team. And you know, even disappointing experience make you better. But then the other thing is, I think they're a better defensive team than they've been in the past, and that gives them a chance. I mean, when you're a team that relies on the jump shot the way they do, and you know that's how it is, they're going to rely on the jump shot. But you know, they are. When you play better defense, it gives you more of a chance to hang around and stay in games when the shots aren't falling early on. And then, you know, hopefully they come around. If you never get your shots going, you're going to get beat. You know, that's true for everybody. But, you know, for Villanova, I think their defense chance to hang around in games more when the shots aren't quite going the way they need to.
And now, obviously, Villanova is a great team. As you mentioned, they have a great coach in Jay Wright. You mentioned 2 teams that you trust with Kansas, who has Bill Self as their head man, and Tom Izzo at Michigan State. You said you trust them as well. When looking around the nation right now, March, it really depends. You need some top performers, and you need some great coaching. A top performer all season long has been Buddy Hield at Oklahoma. Do you think he's maybe a player who can keep up this prolific scoring come March?
Yeah, there's no reason to believe otherwise. I mean, you know, he's another guy, though, that is really more of an outside player, and, you know, if he has a bad day, Oklahoma could go down. But but Buddy Hield's been terrific all year. He seems to be better late in games even than he is earlier in games, and that's great quality to have in a star player. And Oklahoma is a lot like Villanova. I mean, there's not a whole lot of an inside game. They're mostly a perimeter-oriented team. They're very experienced. It's our 4 seniors, including Hield. So, it's a similar team that way, and I don't think I'm ever going to fully trust teams oriented as those two are, but those two are really good at what they do.
Wrapping up with Jerry Palm, the bracketologist at CBS. Jerry, let's stay here in the Big Five with a team like St. Joe's. We've already gotten your predictions on Temple and Villanova. Where does St. Joe's rank right now in your bracket?
Bottom half of the bracket, on the good side of the bubble at the moment. I think St. Joe's will be okay if they can avoid a bad loss in the conference tournament. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're on the half of the bracket with Dayton. So, that gives them a chance at a quality win before the final, which is always good, and obviously would put them comfortably in if they could beat the Flyers. The A-10 tournament, actually, really the only difference between the A-10 and the American, other than not having quite as many bubble teams, is that their best team, the team that actually can help somebody, is in the tournament. So the A-10 tournament should be a lot of fun to watch as well.
Before we let you run, as much as love your college basketball insights, we just have to ask you one quick college football question, because we know you're a big college football guy as well. With the Temple Owls, this has been a program that they've gotten a lot of national attention this year. When you bring in a college game day, you take down Penn State, you play a team like Notre Dame, you get to a bowl game, and you have 3 players going to the combine. As a guy that's just brings a national perspective, what do you hear around the nation about this Temple Owl football team and the program Matt Rule's building?
Well, they had a great year. I don't think there's any doubt. That was a great season for Temple football. And, to be honest, I think it's a difficult place to win, just because they're playing in a huge stadium, and so it's never going to really be full. The fan base just isn't big enough for a stadium like that. But it's, the coach is great, and I think that there's promise there. They're in a league where they have a chance to win, and I think it's I think what Temple's the season that they're coming off of is something that they can really build on.
Well, Jerry, we appreciate a few minutes today. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.